So let's bring back my panel, Shaniqua McClendon, Ashley Pratt-Oates, and Cristina Simpson-Ramirez. Shaniqua, the death of Amber Thurman is highlighting the issue of abortion bans, especially when it comes to that very gray area of exceptions. Is that an important aspect to focus on for voters? Just referencing the NBC poll, it came in 5th place of all the top issues.
Yeah, this is going to remain to be an important issue for voters. I know, yes, you have this up on the screen where abortion has ranked 5th, but we've had multiple elections since the Dobbs decision, since Roe was overturned, where voters have told us that this is an important issue to them. The economy is always going to be an important issue to voters, but this we've seen as an issue that brings voters out and makes and pushes them to make decisive decisions in the voting booth. And I think having these really, pointed, tragic stories that have come out in the past week to demonstrate the real consequences of banning abortion around the country are going to be just another reminder for voters that this is something that's really important and can affect them or their family in their everyday lives.
So, Ashley, only 6% of voters in the poll said that abortion was the most important issue. That is unchanged from polling in April. But will that disproportionately drive turnout? Will it lead Democrats to overperform, as we've seen in the past couple of years? Certainly we did in the midterms. Or do you think it's potentially fading at all from the front of voters' minds?
I think this is the biggest sleeper issue in this election for a couple of reasons. First, this is the first presidential election since Roe was overturned, which, might I remind everybody, that Donald Trump has consistently taken credit for. So this is a referendum, I think, on that. And I do think voters will remember that at the voting booth. And again, to the point that Shaniqua just made, of course, the economy is important, and it's important in so many ways across so many people's lives, but so is abortion and healthcare access. And for women like myself and for my daughter, this is something that I do have grave concerns about if Republicans remain in control. And the flip-flopping on the issue, I think, is probably the most concerning, because there is no clear pathway forward. But what we do see are women dying as a result of not having access to care. So I think, again, this is going to be a driving issue come November. So I think we'll see a shift in the polls, or at least in those polls that happen after people have voted. We're going to see this take place as maybe one of the top 2 or 3 issues that really turned out the vote on Election Day.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe. Cristina, Harris leads with women by 21 points. Meanwhile, Trump has just a 12-point lead with men. How important is that margin difference?
I mean, we know that in some of the core constituencies of women, young people, Latinas and African Americans, women also turn out at higher margins. So this is a real lead and advantage that Harris has. And of course, one of those driving issues, not the only issue, is abortion. People like to say elections matter, and some people will say, I don't really notice the difference of who's in charge. But ask women in my state, or ask the family members of April or her son, who will never be able to be raised by his mother and left her when he was 6 years old, something that was totally preventable. These elections are life and death circumstances for people. And I also think that there's also polling we've seen, especially with young women and young men, right? And last election in 2022, our polling showed that 2 out of 3 young women said abortion was their top issue or one of their top issues in the past election. And we didn't see that with young men. But you know what we're starting to see in polling? That young men are starting to say abortion is a very important issue to them. I jokingly say it took them about 9 months to catch up, but they too are seeing the consequences of having abortion access taken away from a third of women across the country.
Hey, Cristina, you're in Texas. I'm curious, are you seeing in that Senate race, a hotly contested one, does Colin Allred have a legit chance at unseating Ted Cruz?
I mean, Ted Cruz, as we all know, across the country, is probably one of the most, if not the most unpopular senator. He is almost wholly disliked by the people of Texas. And Colin Allred is making real inroads. Of course, Beto O'Rourke got within 2.5 percentage points of flipping this. And Republicans are attacking Latino voters, young voters, civil rights organization, counties that are doing just basic registration because they are terrified that if people turn out in this state, they cannot win because they have long held power with minority rule instead of majority rule. And they'd like to keep it that way. And that's what they're trying every which way possible to make sure people don't turn out, because they know they'll turn out likely for Colin Allred.
So, Shaniqua, the Harris campaign's reproductive rights bus tour, that's expected to hit all 7 of the battleground states. Reuters reports the goal is to take the fight to small town and neighborhood voters that big rallies will not reach. Does this speak to a larger strategy to try to broaden the campaign field, and do you sense it's working?
Absolutely. I'm from a pretty small town. Can you all hear me? Sorry.
We can hear you okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm from a pretty
worries.
small town, Creedmoor, North Carolina. We didn't even have sidewalks when I was growing up. And those are the kinds of towns that don't often see presidential candidates come through. And so this bus tour will be able to raise the issue of abortion, but it's also going to give a lot of voters who never see either candidate the opportunity to hear directly from the campaign and feel like their vote is actually being worked for, not just taken for granted. In states around this country, there's a lot of states that, will come down to really small margins. And in those states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina, it's going to really come down to what happens in those rural parts of the state. Big cities will drive a lot of turnout, but even if you don't win the rural parts of the state, being able to drive down the margins in those areas will make the difference. And so I think it does speak to a larger strategy of trying to reach more people and not relying on a certain group of voters or taking any other votes for granted.
Okay. That nightmare scenario I mentioned now, the question will go to you, Ashley. Nebraska, one of just 2 states that doesn't have a winner-take-all system for electoral votes. Nebraska has one electoral vote that typically goes Democratic. Republicans want to change that, meaning all of the state's electoral votes would go to Trump. And that then creates this possible scenario of a 269-269 tie. So the election would be thrown to the House, likely giving Trump the victory. How much is this a real concern for Democrats? Are people talking about this?
So I'm not sure that it's being talked about as much as it should be, which is the fact that there is this kind of ground game that's going on behind the scenes in the Republican Party, which is trying to scheme out ways to potentially rig to win this election. And that's going to completely thwart the voice of the people if Kamala Harris wins the popular vote and then doesn't win the Electoral College. We've seen this play out before, and I really do think it sets up a pretty scary scenario that this is something that Republicans are considering. And I do think it's smart, again, to have Democrats go out there and talk about the threats to democracy that Republicans really do pose. And this is one of those threats to democracy, that they're willing to stop at nothing to thwart the will and the voice of the people. But I mean, that's my 2 cents on this. I think it should be discussed a heck of a lot more than it is.
Okay, well, your 2 cents is valuable. I think worth a lot more than that. In fact, for all 3 of you, thank you so much, Shaniqua, Ashley, and Christina. We'll see you again.